What up, my crush? It's me, Fresh, and...
Sorry, I was praying because he said to pray his phone doesn't fall over. Take stuff.
and Emerald Soldier.
Hello.
And today we are all going to, well, technically these two are going to be reacting to my audio tellings for the rest of the chapters of Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship. So this will be chapter 5 all the way up to the final chapter 10. Now, I just want to bring up that these audio tellings probably aren't going to be as good as your telling of chapter 8 part 2, just because I'm already making progress on chapter 5, so this is basically just highlighting the major plot points that happen. So there won't be a lot of speaking dialogue in here, it's just summing up what's going to be happening.
So it's more script reading rather than telling it like a story.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
And also, if there are any details in this that don't make a lot of sense or don't add up, don't worry, because once the finalized chapters are done, then they'll make sense to you then.
Yeah, I won't question anything. I'll think, ooh, what's that mean?
Alright.
And
So, starting off with chapter 5, I Need Backup. So, let's dive straight on in. The following audio is a telling of Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship, chapter 5, I Need Backup. Please note that these plot points are not final and some details may be changed by the finalized chapter. Please enjoy this audio while the chapter is released.
Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship, Chapter 5, I Need Backup. After escaping the chaos on Skara, the crew begins to calm down and make plans for finding the other crewmates. Shatterback moves back into his old room on the ship, where he discovers his old stash of Terranites have been thriving for years. Happy that he has brought his food source with him, he begins to feast on the bugs within. Blooper and Lefty are sent to the medical bay to recover from their injuries with the help of Medic, medicinal expert designed initially for curing, a medical robot stationed on the ship. Just as the Star Center are about to set off for a new planet, a star-shaped button lights up on the ship's control panel. They reveal that this is the star signal, which is used to contact the crew if someone is in trouble. Curious, K&S answer the call to see that the caller is Tara Grondag, another of the crewmates they were looking for. The reptilian cop tells them that she has been using her ship, the SS Turtle, to stop a horrific clanger trafficking operation. She asks for the crew's help to gain the upper hand in her efforts to stop the trafficking. The Star Center are hesitant to help her, as even though the Reapers aren't currently pursuing them, the Reapers could eventually catch them if they stay in one place for too long. Furthermore, they acknowledge the sad fact that clangers are trafficked all the time.
yes.
And there isn't much they can do to help in the moment. K&S immediately change their minds when Tara reveals their old engineer, a clanger by the name of Spanner, is being held captive by Graysal's target, a mob boss by the name of Flats. Graysile explains that she has planned a sting operation on Flats' spaceport to arrest him and to save the clangers. The captains agree to meet up with her nearby. The Preserver locates the SS Turtle and brings both it and Graysile on board. Graysile reunites with the captains and Shatterback, but when the Nowhere companions greet her, she holds her guns up to Cyberman 38. They quickly explain that 38 is on their side. Graysile gazes at 38 and comes up with a better plan. Graysile places herself in handcuffs and has 38 and Squidward pretend to be bounty hunters for Flats. The three of them are dropped off at the top floor entry point for Flats' space station. When they knock on the door, they are greeted by a blue, bug-eyed alien named Ocula, who is Flats' small, snidey accomplice. Impressed that the two strangers caught Graysile for Flats, he welcomes them in. Ocula then calls upon two hideous guard dog creatures to surround the trio as they are brought inside. Guile and Nash, the two needle hounds, sniff the air suspiciously, but are obedient with Ocula's commands. When the six round a corner, it's revealed that Malcolm and Twilight have used their magic to make them and the rest of the team invisible, Malcolm, Twilight, Kay, Pegasus, Ironcan, and Shatterback sneak their way around the spaceport to find the imprisoned clangers. Soon, they find a large room full of cages, finding not only clangers, but many other species off the clangers' home planet, including the iron chicken, the froglets, the soup dragon, and several sky moos. Within these cages, Kay locates the Spanner, delighted to see him alive after so many years apart. Elsewhere, Ocula takes Graysile and Co. to Flats, a large flatworm-shaped being. He's pleased to see his arch-enemy finally captured and helpless. While the two rivals talk and taunt each other, Kay's team sets to work freeing all the creatures from their cages, while Flats is distracted and not looking at his monitors. While Flats asks Squidward and 38 for what reward they would like, they struggle to think of what to say. At the same time, Ironcan slips and falls down the stairs behind Graysile and Co., alerting Flats and Ocula to their scheme. Squidward and 38 open fire on the mob boss, while Graysile scoops up Iron Chicken and flees with the scene with Squidward and 38 close behind. Flats, Ocula, Guile, and Nash chase the entire team through the spaceport. The crew all have clangers in their arms, while other creatures run alongside them. Flats and Co. split up to cut them off. Soup Dragon lags behind to face off against Guile, who is catching up to her baby, who got left behind in the chaos. The Soup Dragon snarls angrily at the guard dog before hitting it on the head with a spoon. S, standing at the Preserver's hangar door, helps rush the creatures and crew on board while firing at the mob boss and lackeys. Shatterback is about to board when he sees Nash, the remaining Needlehound, biting on a panicked Skymoo's ear. Shatterback swipes at the remaining Needlehound, sending it flying. Flats and Ocula continue their gunfire on the ship, while Soup Dragon finally reaches the battle zone outside. Soup Dragon notices a mysterious fuse built into the wall. She lights the fuse by breathing fire on it. The spaceport slowly catches fire, while she sneaks onto the ship with her baby. The Preserver takes off. Flats and Ocula notice the fire burning behind them, and rush to try and put it out, while the two Needlehounds continue to chase after the ship just after it takes off. Flat swears revenge on Graysile before the Preserver flies away. A major explosion engulfs the two criminals on their spaceport. The Preserver flies away to the Clangers' home planet. There, the crew release all the Clangers and creatures they've saved. Graysile and Spanner join the team again, while Spanner begins repairing the ship's inactive plasma cannons. Graysile, on the other hand, decides to keep the two Needlehounds for herself in her room, promising to make them better police dogs and better companions. Later, the crew are watching Flats and Ocula getting arrested, happy that they are finally behind bars. But when the news report states that they are being taken to the Shank, a nasty prison for intergalactic criminals, the news report states that they are housing one of their other crewmates, Polt Rosess, aka Nerflamingo. The crew decides that's where they need to go next. The crew wave goodbye to the Clangers on their homeworld and set off to find their next crewmate. After the ship leaves, a mysterious purple cloud arrives at the Clangers' home planet. There, the local Clangers cloud speaks with it and points to where the Preserver is going. The purple cloud begins to slowly follow the crew for unknown reasons. To be continued.
So, that was chapter 5. Thoughts so far?
The bit where they were escaping, it gave me vibes of Guardians of the Galaxy and the escape in Robin Hood, kind of mixed together. So I'm wondering if there was any inspiration maybe from
Banshees, compared to Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that's pure coincidence. So you'll likely be seeing some similarities to it, yeah.
Yeah, but such as, a lot of stuff is similar. It's like, and there's also a place where criminals are being held in space and stuff, so,
Also, if you need to pause at any point, just let me know and we can do so.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm interested to see what this purple cloud is as well.
All right. So here we go with Chapter 6, Captain's Coming. I basically just say the same thing as last chapter, but here we go.
Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship, Chapter 6, Captain's Coming. After the Clanger rescue, the crew heads straight to the medical bay to drop off Twilight and Pegasus for healing. At the same time, Lefty and Blooper are dismissed, having finished recovering. Lefty is more or less fine. Unfortunately, Blooper's voice box was damaged beyond repair, rendering him mute. The captains swear vengeance against the Reapers for this. The crew returns to the cockpit to repair to rescue Nerflamingo. Just before they set off, the crew watches a giant yellow circus tent drifts past them outside the ship. The tent is piloted by a creepy clown. Malcolm watches as the tent drifts away. He notes the space clown, flying a circus tent, heading towards Earth for some reason. The captains shrug it off, saying they'll deal with it later. The ship speeds off to the shank.
And that's how Killer Clowns from Outer Space began.
I've seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah.
But still, people are, we'll just leave it. It's like, we would know that we just saw that.
Giving him a soldiers down there.
Like I say, the final chapters, it'll make a lot more sense.
We now need to show Michael Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh no.
Yeah.
On the way, the crew thinks carefully about their plan. Greysile decides to pretend to visit Pult while he is locked up. Soon, she arrives at the Shank in her own ship, in order to not draw any suspicions. Tara approaches the Shank wearing a strange necklace with an orange jewel pendant on it. Being a cop herself, she is allowed into the Shank to visit her fellow crewmate. She is led around the prison by two guards, known as Limo Sapiens. These beings are composed entirely out of colored slime, with a strange metallic disc flying above their heads. The Shank is full of dangerous criminals, locked away inside large cells behind steel doors. At one point, she passes Flats in his new cell. She chuckles at this as she walks away. Soon, she is led to Pult's cell, where he is sealed behind two doors in a padded room. She is sealed in with him in order to keep him inside. When Tara sees the state of her flamingo crewmate, she is heartbroken. He is locked in a straitjacket against the wall with a strong muzzle around his beak. She carefully takes off the muzzle and tries to get him to talk. Pult doesn't respond, but when Tara mentions getting the crew back together, Pult looks at her in the eyes and speaks weakly. He rambles about how he belongs in a cage and that he's never done anything good in his life. Tara reassures him that he's been brainwashed by the guards, and that even though he's done bad things before, it was for the greater good. Tara then reveals that she snuck Malcolm, S, and Squidward into the prison. S appears from the necklace and tries to comfort Pult. Even though Pult is happy to see his captain, he breaks down in tears and tells them to leave. Otherwise they will end up in the prison like him. Tara simply nods towards Squidward as she and the rest leave. Squidward remains in the cell just as Tara opens the doors. Squidward glares at Pult. Pult insults Squidward, causing Squidward to literally kick Pult out of the cell, banging his head on the outside wall. Pult regains his memory and mindset from this and embraces Tara. S reveals that Malcolm performed a slight time-slowing spell on the guards, which will soon wear off. The group run to find Pult's minigun and clothes before the spell wears off. They eventually find a storage vault just as the spell begins to wear off. Tara and Pult lead the way, opening fire on the near-indestructible slime guards. The gunfire is seen on security cameras, which Tara shoots out with her guns. They target the device floating above each slime guard's head, which allows these guards to retain their forms in different gravitational fields. Once hit, each guard falls to the ground in a puddle. Soon the group runs outside to Tara's ship. Pult holds off the guards with his newly acquired minigun, while Tara starts up the ship. Holt mocks the guards before spreading his wings and flying onto Tara's ship to make their escape. Nerflamingo is reunited with the rest of the crew on the Populous Preserver. He sits in the cockpit and begins to repair his prosthetic leg. The group watch as a news report about Polt's escape and how the Star Center on a gray thin line again. The crew laugh it off and begin making plans to find their final crewmate, Tara's old girlfriend, Battalion. Spanner messages the captains from the cockpit, stating that he's fixed their hyperdrive and that they can now hyperjump through space again without any more worries of crashing. To be continued.
Say that just as a car speeds past.
Very tiny.
Thoughts?
Polt, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
No, that was interesting. I don't know why the guards, because you said slimes, my brain went to slimes from Minecraft with little halos above their heads.
I was thinking more along the lines of like Goop from Ben 10. That's basically the main inspiration for these guards. Where you can't shoot them because the bullets would go right through them. So if you take out the disc above them, doink, done.
It seems like each chapter you're making more and more enemies for the group here. It's like...
Well, anyway. Next up, we have Chapter 7, Take the Con. Once again, same message. And here we go.
Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship. Chapter 7, Take the Con. The crew gather in the Preserver's cockpit, ready to take off to Battalion's home planet, Sana. After Spanner called in from the engine room, stating that the hyperdrive has been fixed, the captains try it out and speed off to Sana successfully. Meanwhile, Spanner gets back to work, making his own battleship. The ship hyperjumps successfully and arrives at Sana. Polt decides to stay in the airspace above Sana in his own battleship, the SS Falcon, keeping an eye out for any threats that
Naming is coincidental.
Oh.
Is it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
interfere with them, while the rest of the crew flies down to find Vicky Countermat, the Lioness Huntress. Upon landing in the wilderness, they begin to travel a short distance to Vicky's tribal kingdom, seeing many different alien animals along the way. The crew arrive at the kingdom, where a strange ceremony is happening outside the palace. The entire tribe has their backs turned until the crew announce their arrival out loud. The tribe turns around, revealing that the inhabitants are not lions, but tigers. The tigers aggressively surround the crew with spears, until the real lion tribe come out from hiding. The lions surround the tigers, and one lioness leaps into the very middle to protect Tara from a rogue tiger. The lions lead the tigers away to be locked up, and the lioness reveals herself as Vicky, the Battalion.
Again, the naming is also coincidental.
Uh-huh.
But it would be so cool if it wasn't. It's like the SS Falcon, I was like, they played the Master Falcon. Vicky, there's two Vickies now, which can happen. But that's cool.
Race, but a faint cry is heard from a bundle on Vicky's back. Vicky reveals a baby lion cub from the bundle and holds it in her arms. Tara is a little surprised and a little upset, but Vicky reassures her that the cub isn't actually hers, but actually belongs to her older sister. She also states that it's tradition to bring new cubs into battle to prepare them for the future. Vicky, Tara, and the rest of the crew enter the palace to see the king and queen. Vicky returns the cub to her sister, while the crew bow in respect. The king is happy to see the crew, especially Shatterback. The king reveals that Shatterback has been around longer than the rest of the crew, and has looked after Vicky while she was with the Starscent. Soon, a red butterfly-like creature flutters up to Shatterback happily. This creature is named Dusty, another member of the Starscent crew. Tara had Dusty stay with Vicky after they disbanded, as a promise that she would come back to her someday. The crew explained their situation to the king and queen, asking if Vicky would come with them. Vicky is eager to join, but is a bit hesitant to leave her family behind. Vicky's mother, the queen, steps forward and tells her to follow her heart and that her family will be fine. Her father, the king, also states that since she showed bravery to protect others like Tara, she has more than earned her place among the Star-sent crew. Tara then asks Vicky where her battleship is. Vicky reveals that in order to protect her ship from their enemies, her people sealed the ship into the head of a giant statue. The crew and tribe arrive at the foot of a large black stone statue of a lion they passed when entering the kingdom. The queen performs a spell which causes the stone around the statue's head to crumble away, revealing the SS Feline ship beneath. The ship is lowered down to Vicky and the crew. To be continued.
So, yeah. Thoughts?
Big black feline statue.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Since this started, how big this galaxy is
I know.
becoming, including his planet.
Well, that's no more now. That's not so now.
Yeah, but it was still canonically in the story.
Yeah.
Like, and we've got all of this.
And also we got another alien race on my standard story.
Yes.
Yeah, if you think about it.
I know. And the Reaper stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is getting big.
Yeah.
Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship, Chapter 8, Stand By. After climbing aboard their ships, the crew, joined by Vicky, wave goodbye to her tribe. As the crew takes off and fly away, her family watch on high and give out a tearful roar as she leaves. Soon, all 4 battleships park on the Preserver, and they all fly away into space. The captains have parked the Preserver in an empty point in space to celebrate their crewmates' returns. The crew celebrates in the ship's cargo bay with some of the Nowhere companions. Malcolm, Lefty, and the captains remain in the cockpit, keeping an eye out for any dangers. After a while, the captains start getting suspicious about the Reapers and why they haven't been pursuing them for a long time. But before they can question things further, Lefty spots something approaching on the ship's radar. He also states that whatever it is definitely not the Reapers. Soon, the strange purple cloud that was following them earlier finally catches up and floats to the front of the ship. The captains are amazed to see the cloud floating in front of them and greet it as an old friend. Lefty and Malcolm question this, and the captains reveal this being's name is Cyrus, and they too are part of the crew. Cyrus flashes a message in Morse code, and the captains immediately rush to the hangar bay to let them in. The captains, crew, and Nowhere companions all watch as Cyrus drifts in through the hangar door. The sentient cloud floats just above them, and the captains ask them why they are here. Cyrus continues to speak in Morse code by creating small flashes of thunder and lightning. Cyrus tells them that the nature preserve planet, Titan, was attacked. The captains watch a screen to see a news report. Indeed, Titan is shown attacked, and many kaiju themselves were either killed or injured. The news report goes on to state that only one Titan was captured in the attack, Shadora, the dwarf kaiju. The captains reveal Shadora was one of their crew and traveled with them for quite some time. The captains then question Cyrus about what happened, as he and Shadora both lived on Titan together. Cyrus then goes on to tell the story of how Shadora was captured. To be continued.
So yeah.
Any more add-ons?
And this final bit is both Chapter 9 and Chapter 10. Now, Chapter 9 is going to be pretty brief because I imagine this is Cameron's solo story, like before the finale.
Right.
So, yeah.
Wait, so is Chapter 10 your version of Chapter 10 here?
Yeah.
Oh, God, okay.
Oh.
So...
Well, this is just Chapter 10 of Big Blue Spaceship, not Fresh vs.
Oh,
Jason.
right, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, whoa, okay.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've been this far watching these.
Also, the purple cloud the fact that they told it to follow the ship made me think, yeah, it seems like an ally. Like, why would they tell it if it was an enemy?
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
And the fact that they spoke to another cloud. So, yeah. Anyway, chapter 9, brief as it is, here we go.
Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship, Chapter 9, Unnamed. This chapter is a solo story. It describes Cyrus's experiences living on Titan until it was attacked by the Reapers. Cyrus goes on to explain that the Reapers entered Titan's airspace, attacked Shadora and other Titans. Eventually, Shadora gets captured, and Cyrus rushes off to find the Populous Preserver to call for help. To be continued.
Wow.
Fresh Powder's Big Blue Spaceship. The final chapter. Chapter 10, Red Alert. After hearing Cyrus's story of how Shadora was captured, the crew decide to set out to find her. But just as everyone rushes to the cockpit, they receive a video message on one of their monitors. The video shows Reaper 35 having captured, muzzled, and chained up Shadora on his ship. He demands that if the crew don't turn themselves in, he will kill her. The crew think of a plan before speeding off to where the Reaper's 4 remaining ships are. Instead of surrendering, the crew have boarded their battleships or are flying on their own steam. They begin to bombard the Reaper's ships from inside and out. Over the course of the battle, the 4 smaller Starsent ships are slowly abducted and brought on board the Reaper's mothership, where Reaper 35 is in command. Reaper 35 readies a firing squad to take out the 4 crewmates, but the squad is taken out by Spanner, who pilots his newly built ship, the SS Dragon. The crewmates pick up their weapons and begin to take on the Reapers individually. In the meantime, Spanner boards the mothership, and he and Lefty begin to unlock Shadora from her restraints. The 4 crewmates make it to Reaper 35's command deck, where they are eventually captured by a laser beam descending from the ceiling, which freezes them in place. The captains see this from their own cockpit and look to each other in agreement. Reaper 35 prepares to shoot Shatterback at point-blank range until a mysterious 3rd captain strikes him, sending them flying against the wall. The freed crewmates and the 3rd captain reassume the battle until Reaper 2217 appears, holding Spanner by the neck. He threatens to crush him unless they surrender. Shadora senses this from afar and breaks free from her final restraints. She blasts the muzzle off her face by firing a devastating beam of energy from her mouth. The blast vaporizes 2217 on impact and proceeds to take out the 3 smaller Reaper ships outside, leaving only Reaper 35 and his mothership as the only ones left. The protective air shields surrounding the mothership won't last long, and the ship will detonate in less than a minute. The 3rd captain disappears, while the 2 original captains appear in its place and step up to Reaper 35. They demand that he stand down and accept defeat. They ask him for any last words, to which Reaper 35 responds with, "Emergency, temporal, shift." Malcolm quickly tries to stop him, but he is too late. Reaper 35 suddenly teleports away to somewhere unknown. With seconds to spare, Malcolm and Twilight teleport everyone and their ships back to the Preserver and speed away, moments before the Reaper's mothership explodes. Although frustrated that they couldn't catch Reaper 35, the crew celebrates their victory with the Nowhere Companions. Soon the 6 Nowhere Companions are ready to head back to Nowhere to tell Fresh the good news. The captains thank the Companions for all their help in bringing the crew back together. They also state that they shall begin scouting the cosmos to see if they can eventually track down Reaper 35. Malcolm teleports him and the 5 Companions back to Nowhere. Arriving back in Nowhere, Squidward, Twilight, Malcolm, and Lefty are reunited with their friends. Fresh steps forward and asks about their mission. Lefty highlights all the bad parts, and although horrified, Fresh assumes they did a good job. Fresh then goes on to thank Malcolm and Cyberman 38 for their bravery. Impressed with 38, Fresh upgrades him to look like a modern Cyberman, turning Cyberman 38 into the new Cyber Leader. Iron Can reunites with the other bootleg Avengers, who are still watching the screen that keeps an eye on the Bunyip's progress. Iron Can states that the mission is over and wonders if they won the war yet, only to discover that the Bunyip is still in space and still hasn't found Sneakstaff magic or his forces yet. Iron Can becomes furious and wonders how so little can happen here when they did so much in space. He sighs and continues to watch the Bunyip's progress on the screen, waiting for the moment when the battle of Fresh versus Sneakstaff can begin again. To be concluded in Fresh vs. Sneakstaff, Chapter 10.
And there you have it.
Oh. Wow.
And that leads straight into Chapter 8, Part 1. That's where this all fits into the timeline. So, thoughts?
Rough process.
Okay, so I think that whole series. I mean, obviously, you still need to do it like the proper thing.
Yeah, of course.
But considering the details there, I think everything fits really nicely within its own series. Like the characters gather up for a reason. In the end, they go against Reaper 35. I like how Lefty and Spanner, the smallest one, save the biggest one while the fight's going on.
Yeah.
All of that sort of happens. We get a death of Reaper 35's second in command.
Yeah.
Because
no shifts.
Because I like to imagine when you're doing Chapter 8, Part 2, you receive a call from Reaper 35. I like to assume not only is he updating you that the Bunyip took out the Daleks, but I also like to imagine it's a sort of cry for help, like, I've lost my crew, I need help here, you know, if we're gonna take Fresh and his forces out, now's the time, you know.
See, in my head, the message he sends is as you've released your chapter. So he's following them to planet Skara just after he's sent that. But I think the fact he gets away, at first I was like, emergency temporal shift, that's a bit close to the Daleks. And then I thought, wait a minute, I'm using Daleks. That makes perfect sense what he'd use emergency temporal shift.
I mean, he is a robot.
Yeah, exactly. But like, no, that has given me some ideas, definitely, so to tie it together. So
technically speaking, now that Big Blue Spaceship is done, you could very easily make up all three parts of Fresh vs. Sneakstaff Chapter 9 relatively soon, because I've technically given you all the information.
Yeah, because now I can work around stuff with that too. The thing I've most taken from that is Reaper 35 getting away. The other thing is,
I was not expecting that.
I feel like, well, the time frame that this journey takes would coincide with what Snakestaff's doing. So I feel like they come back and then Fresh would be like, I know where Snakestaff is, and then they go to the battle. Instead of it being like, the Bunyip still hasn't found the ships yet. It's kind of like 3 months didn't happen in that 5-day gap.
Well,
you know,
was,
it's like.
Well, I mean, that was kind of part of the joke, because I figured
Or because I hadn't progressed with the
Well, I mean, a little bit, yeah. But the thing is, the main thing to take from this is Big Blue Spaceship. It's a spin-off story. Nothing that happens within the universe of Big Blue Spaceship should impact what happens in the grand scheme of Fresh vs. Snakestaff.
Except for some of the character involvement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But by Chapter 10 of Fresh vs. Snakestaff, you know, that's when all the craziness is going to happen. That's going to be the grand finale to everything.
Well,
for now, at least.
Yeah.
But
we'll
yeah.
see about that.
But yeah, until Chapter 9 of Fresh vs. Snakestaff comes out, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I did. That was very good, Dan. Well done. I liked how far this is, how much stuff this has brought. And I need to go and have a word with Reaper 35 about a couple of things.
Oh dear.
I'm going
Well,
to say me then.
until next time, stay fresh. Bye bye.